Hey, good evening on this nice, crisp evening out here in northern Alberta. Um, One of my favorite places out here. So, well, let's begin with the fatal collision. Um, the effects of it and the heaviness of it. So, back in 2018, um, reflecting a bit. So, 2018 January 19th of 2018 at 4 o'clock, 4:01 p.m., the document said, is when the fatal collision happened. Um, Northbound on Highway 97, a uh, just about a quarter kilometer north of the scale house, the heavy truck scales, kind of by that, what it used to be Bloom and Siglet there, that service road there. But nevertheless, leading up to that accident, I had got myself sober, 100% off the booze. And that started back in late 2014, early 2015. I was about, there's no about, I was 260 plus pounds of a fat mess. I was loading myself with steroids. I wasn't working out. Um, I was in a horrible relationship, living in Kelowna, West Kelowna, living it up, blowing my inheritance, um, my early inheritance, and I had the girl at the time in my life in Kelowna worked at a winery, so we were just two peas in a pod. We were a good fit, right? We were just drinking every night on the winery and living the Kelowna life, right? Cocaine and just like going out and anyways. This young lady, beautiful soul, she had to move on. It wasn't working, right? Um, Clearly, we were gonna end up dead. Like it was just we were just out of shape, eating gross, and so here I was. Um, I had got rid of my place. I took a bit of a trip down to Vancouver Island and thought I'd give that a go. Um, I got a cousin down there, super guy in the Comox Valley. Anyways, nor here nor there. That didn't work out. That didn't work out. So I I went back to live with my mom up Silver Star Road. She had her nice, beautiful chalet cottage up on the same property as my sister and brother-in-law and my nephews. And like what a lovely lady. She knew the mess I was in, my mom, and didn't charge me rent. We didn't have extravagant meals. She was working as a care aide at the hospital, worked hard. I was so lost, like I couldn't do anything. I went, and what happened there. Um, so, like I said, I rewinded a bit here to get to the accident, right? So, we're talking, like I said, late 2014, early 2015. Um, I was messed. So any kind of money I did have, wherever I got it, whoever borrowed it from, my grandpa or my old man or my mom, um, I was just wandering off doing my thing. And of course I was you get drunk, you're gonna want to do the cocaine and so anyways, the end all of it, at the end point for the alcohol at that time was It was middle of the week. It was I don't know what you know what time of year it was. I know it wasn't hot, and I know it wasn't cold. Um, and my brother-in-law and sister got a bit of a spread, nothing major, but it's a few acres. I don't know, 5-10 acres, and I managed to get myself back up to Silver Star Road there, and from what I was told to me from my mother, she seen me walking across the acreage, coming in an exit or an entrance that wasn't even an entrance. I climbed over the fence way down somewhere, and I had no pants on, but I had my wine and my champagne, and I was so proud of that. And in two, bags or whatever, and apparently the man that dropped me off uh, was a local volunteer firefighter, and he lived up there, and wherever he found me or whatever, he went and told my family, just to make sure that I'd got home safe. Anyways, and to make sure that it was even where I was going was my sister's place, her mom's house, right? So and I'll rip through this a bit. I had a thing for when I was drunk growing up, and I'll be out at our lake lot and on the Okanagan Lake and such, just outside of Vernon. We don't have it anymore in the family, but I loved climbing trees, you know. So my mom, she got me in the house, and I wasn't making sense, and I was pretty violent. I was always verbally abusive, and at times I could be violent. I would wreck shit and smash coffee tables and whatever. Big fucking hero, right? Your mom's trying to save you and give you a place, and you're just wild man, and so as big as I was and as out of shape as I was, there was some beautiful fucking major huge trees on my brother-in-law and sister's property right outside mom's chalet. And she had pissed me off or something, and I said, I'm gonna fucking go kill myself or something like that. So I didn't only climb this. I mean, by then I'd put joggers on or something. I didn't only just climb this tree and hide on her. I went to the very top of this tree and stayed up there for some time. I can remember that clearly, and actually I can remember the feelings I had climbing to the top of that tree. It was fun, and it seemed like it was easy. Um, like I'm talking way taller than a telephone pole or anything. Like this thing was tall, and the branches were pretty broad. Some of them were breaking. I didn't care. I was done, and I really wouldn't say that at that time suicide was going to be a thing. We were just in a fight, and at that time it was just fucking talk. It was noise. But I mean, your mother doesn't know that, right? So up I go, and then finally I started laughing, and I think she was, bawling and quite a mess. And like I say, it's don't remember it clearly. So I came down, and um, she didn't hide the booze on me or anything. She figured, enough. Like he's gonna, who knows what this man's gonna do if I steal his booze. So she went to bed. She got up every day for 5 for work, hardworking lady. And I guess we had quite a talk. And I say I guess is because I don't really recall it. But one thing, right before I went to go to bed that night, and I just slept on the couch, and every morning, good morning, mom, she would come down and be quiet and get her coffee and stuff like that. Um, I remember telling her that that was it for me. I was done drinking. Um, I would do anything in my power to quit, and that was it. And I love you, and that's that. So here comes the next morning, 5 o'clock. I'd passed out. on the couch and booze beside me and whatever, and champagne spilt everywhere and pissed my pants and oh, just horrible things. And pissed my pants because I would drink. That happened multiple times to me, when I would drink myself into oblivion. I don't know how I could function, but I did. Like, people would tell me I couldn't even know you're like pissed, but you pissed someone's bed. And one time in high school, I at a grad party, I blacked out and God bless his soul, our buddy Vance there, I opened up their fridge in the middle of the night and pissed all in their fridge, their food. Anyways, so um, and that was when I was young, like grade 11. So, I mean, I was just killing my body, my organs, right? Like for a lot of years, it's holy cow. So lucky to be alive. And um, mom woke me up in the morning and she said, I'm sorry. And she sat down with her coffee down by my feet. And she said, I'm going to ask you one thing. She said, do you remember what you said to mom before you went to bed? And it came to me right away. She's like, we talked for a long time. And I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to quit drinking. And I did. I quit drinking. I didn't seek out cocaine because I was sober. Um, I ended up going to do what I had to do. I think I worked at the Vernon Greyhound for a while in the shipping and receiving. Just doing what I had to do. I had to put myself back together, and so I hadn't fought bulls in about, I don't know, a good 6, 7, 8 years or something. And guy out of Vernon there, Teddy Marchand and family, they got, world champion bucking bulls and literally world champion bucking bulls. And now they're out in Alberta here, like Devil's Advocate, these bulls. And so they were putting, a native lady was putting a bull riding on an Armstrong. And I just, I wanted to retire from bullfighting because I loved it so much. Being in control and knowing that I walked away from it, and I closed that chapter. Well, funny thing is that, and I was still pretty chunky. Um, I ended up running up and down Silver Star Road. So from, I don't know where, it was a long ways, down to the Village Green Mall and back every day. It's just like, just that addictive personality. And I ended up losing a pile of weight. And I, anyways, the phone started ringing again for to fight bulls. And, as I said before, I never fought bulls impaired, but I was probably the drunkest guy at every rodeo dance, and womanized and asshole and fighting and everything, but never did any substance or any alcohol while I was doing my job as a bullfighter. Never walked in that arena drunk. Hungover, yes. Um, so here we are, right? Getting all sobered up and feeling good. Ended up stayed sober, right up to 28, fighting bulls every weekend wherever I could, and came to Alberta a few times. In my, Kenny Siemens put a bull riding school on, came out, helped him out a bit, but wasn't drinking, right? I was dabbling a bit with the shit if I get around the, where it was, and people, cocaine, right? Um, after the gathering or what, and so, um, so here we go. So, I start working again, and I meet a young lady. She's got 3 kids, and we kind of get to hanging out, and one thing leads to another. I really don't know what you call that, if we were dating or what we were, but we were connected. Um, she took me in a bit, and then I went and got my own. No, I got my own place after. So I went up north to Grand Prairie to work um, for another friend of mine, a good friend of mine, high school friend. And he's doing very well. He's super successful. Um, Shout out to Pro Torque Energy and Landon McDonald. I came back home for, I don't know what happened, if I did a hitch and was coming home back down to the Okanagan. But anyways, I knew that I had to go back to work the following day. And the lady, lady, wonderful mom, um, such a good person. You know, like, wow, those kids. She was wonderful with those kids, and then to have me hanging around, and she could throw the beers back too, or the ciders. She was always a fun time. And always went to work and held it together. She does a great job. She still got her kids and married and everything. So anyways, so I what I did was um, I was taking her youngest son. Um, I only like to use don't like to really use names or whatever. He was young. I think he was 8 years old, and he was into all sports. He's a maniac now. He's just jacked up and such a super nice young man. And they're all good kids. Wow. One's somewhere in the States playing hockey, I believe. The daughter's, I don't know what she's doing, but she's a gem. Um, their stepdad there, he's a wonderful soul. I can't say enough about that whole crew. So I took this young kid to Sports Check to get him a soccer ball and something else because I was going to miss his birthday. And January 19th, so there's Swan Lake out there. We're heading northbound. It wasn't a bad night. Everything was getting kind of dark, and I had one of those briefcases in the back of my white Ford. It was in the back, the quad cab, right? 4 door, like a titanium type one. Anyways, I remember leaving, and I know I was texting on my phone, but I knew I put it away because I'd seen the kid looking at me, and he was always pretty good at telling you to put your phone down. So um, I remember that. I remember being in. Well, I thought I was in Hammer Lane, but evidence and investigators proved different. So we're going past the scales. I'm going about 8-10 kilometers over the speed limit, but I'm going with the flow of traffic, right? Everybody's heading home from work. It's a 4 lane, but it's split up there because of the scale house. And one of those service roads on the right hand side, I'm heading north. I see this green flash. It's like a flash of forest green or what have you, and it kind of comes rolling down onto the highway, and pop. That's it. Just that's it. That's all that happens. Hey, I'm out cold, and but I'm thinking I'm dead, and I can hear the kid screaming bloody murder, and I'm thinking we're both dead, and and I like got myself to like get out of it, and I knew I had to save this kid. I didn't give a fuck if I died. And I remember like looking at him, and his eyes were big, and he was bawling, and I realized we weren't dead. And at that point I knew that we needed to. I had a big diesel tank on the back of the truck and stuff. And I just went into this weird mode, you know, and I was fucked up. Um, like I was out cold, eh? And I knew I had to cut his seatbelt. I had to cut mine. I think I smashed a window or a bystander did, and anyways, we got back out onto the highway and got him to safety. And I don't know if anybody, you know, anybody out there. I don't know if anybody, but anybody out there that's been around, like, uh, like around a scene of an accident, or that's all I can speak to. When somebody dies, when there's death, there's like a death silence, and it's like in a big surrounding circle around the whole thing. And it seems to me that it's like you're in a big coliseum, but not really, you know. And you hear certain things and you don't hear certain things, and you smell things, which I learned was just the airbag powder. I smelled that for months and months, and I found myself, there was no paramedics. I didn't know that this gentleman had pulled out in front of us. He had ran a stop sign. Um, Fuck me, you know. And he nobody was giving him any attention in his vehicle. But to give you guys the volume and the intensity of this accident. So it was a 4-lane highway, right? 2 going north, 2 going south. Well, we scattered these fucking cars, and my truck, across all lanes. So that highway shut down at rush hour, right? And so you learn things after, right? You know, but nobody was paying any attention to that other vehicle. And I heard somebody talking, oh, he's gone, and I couldn't understand what they meant by he's gone. And nobody was fucking like too worried about me, you know. Of course, the kid was number one, like 110%, right? Um, and he minus the trauma of the experience, this little guy was in good shape, you know, except for the mental, um, the traumatic, the intensity of the accident and the scaring the fuck out of him, right? Um, thank Christ he had a seatbelt on, or that briefcase didn't come through the back, because the story about that briefcase we'll get to. Um, Nobody was paying attention to this man, and I mean, there was no paramedics there. There was no cops there yet. And I recall walking up to the SUV and taking it upon myself to check his pulse. And his head had exploded. Hey, he was gone. He was dead. And I understood what they meant. And I think that's a good start here. Well, let's just call that part one, and we'll carry this on there. That's heavy, you know. And I'll get into the how my life changed after that, you know, and went backwards again in my life. Thanks, guys. I'll post this part tonight. That's emotional stuff, hey? Thank you.